Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, retired librarian turned homeschool mom. Yeah, the hair's in braids. I'm actually sick. Chest confection. My toddler is asleep and it's only 6:30. So she's sick too. But, so that's the explanation for why my hair is pretty much in what I decided to do with it today, which was actually up. But nonetheless, let's move on to our video review for this evening. So it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. That's what we're covering. I'm filming this in February. This is the 17th of February. You guys will be seeing this obviously in October. But it's hard to find Halloween films that are child appropriate and not scary. I have covered some more classics and slightly scarier stuff. I don't like horror, so I don't really do that. But this is a classic. And apparently it literally aired every year from when it was started, let's see, for 54 years, yeah, from 1966 to 2019. And then it went to Apple TV and they didn't air it. And people got mad. And there was a massive outcry. So now they will air it. They made a deal with PBS. It's like, okay, around this time of year, we will air the specials, which are the Thanksgiving, Christmas, and obviously this one, which is Halloween special. See, I said sick. So, there's also the reason my voice is scratchy. So, on to this. So, what if you're not familiar with this little Halloween special or the Peanuts, remember, comic book turned to cartoons? There were special, some of the specials here. So, the story of this is it's Halloween. Charlie Brown and his friends are going to a Halloween party and they're going out trick-or-treating. And they're all dressed as ghosts for some reason. And Charlie Brown had got issues with these scissors, so his is full of holes. And Linus is convinced he's going to wait in a pumpkin patch, sadly with Charlie Brown's sister, who gets really, really pissed off at him, and wait for the Great Pumpkin, which is the Halloween, his imaginary Halloween version of Santa Claus. So, Charlie Brown does end up not getting any candy. I think he falls and dumps out the candle. I watched this very, very briefly. And Linus, of course, Sally gets really pissed off at him because they're in most of the evening. She misses out on trick-or-treating at the party because she's waiting with him because she's in love with him in the pumpkin patch and nobody comes. And then, of course, Linus spends the entire night in the pumpkin patch. At the end, his older sister Lucy comes to get him, drags him back to bed. Forces him into bed. And of course, he's massively disappointed. This is not very long. I mean, it's a little special here. Let me see how long it is. Go back up. So yeah, it's only 25 minutes. So it's very short. So I think probably would have been longer had you added commercials, but it came out in the 60s. So it came out in like 66 or 65, was it? I think it came out in 1966. Yeah, 66. So it came out in 1966. So this is old. Apparently, this is the first time you get to see the classic Charlie Brown when he goes to kick the football and Lucy pulls it out from underneath him and he falls. This is the first time it was animated for people to see this. So, and apparently, the dirty one, who I think they just wears glasses in this one, is the only time they see him in glasses. So it's an interesting, very old, obviously, classic Hollywood, classic Halloween special. If you want, with the little kids, they'll just find it fun. It's funny, it's silly. You also get to see Snoopy flying around acting like a World War I ace. Because Snoopy. And of course he is. And that's, of course, that's what he's dressed up as, because Snoopy. Also, remember, there's not as much talking in this. In fact, the entire start of this is no words. It's simply the images. And then, of course, Snoopy doesn't talk, except for making very strange sounds. But it's fun. It's short. It's a good thing to put on for the little kids if you want to watch a Halloween film. For homeschoolers, if you're looking at some of the classic Halloween specials, if you're looking at old animation, this is really good to look at as well. If you're just kind of looking at some of those classics that were shown around the 60s, and obviously this was shown up until recently and is so popular it continues to be shown. And Apple actually listened because people were pissed off and made a deal with PBS. It's like, fine, we'll air the specials, which of course involves Thanksgiving and Christmas specials. I don't know if I'll ever do the Thanksgiving special. I may look into that. That will have some issues because it would have come out in the 60s and, Native American problems. Lots of Native American problems probably with that one. But again, this is very short. It's very cute. It's very, very simple. So that's really it for this. There's not much else to say. It's the Charlie Brown Halloween special. It's fun. It's simple. It's only 25 minutes long. It's good for the little kids. And again, it's good to study things. I think there's actually 2 on this one. Yeah, there's it's Magic Charlie Brown, which I didn't look at. Yes, I'm familiar with Charlie Brown. I watched him. I think the one that I remember first is Snoopy Come Home. That's what I remember, and that's the story of how Snoopy gets a letter from his original owner, and he goes back to her, and then he realizes he misses Charlie Brown and leaves, and there's a lot of sad songs in there. But this is a good family film. Most Charlie Brown is very, very simple. And again, it's a good to look at some of the older animation and how you see that. If you're studying homeschooling, if you have a kid who's really interested in animation, particularly some of the old classic stuff. Also, if your kids happen to be fond of the old classic comic strip. And this went on for a very, very long time. I think the author only died recently in the last couple of years. So this was, the Peanuts gang were very, very popular for a very, very long time. So again, that's the end of this review. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm covering some Halloween special stuff. I do that a lot of times in October when I can. It's not easy. I've covered the classics before. I've covered a dark book series last year, which is the, if you're looking for a middle school and you really like creepy and dark and really, really dark, The Last Apprentice by Joseph Delaney is a series that I covered in full. That's very, very, very dark. That was in 2022. That was the end of 2022 when I covered this. I also cover Monstrum, which is a PBS, part PBS storied on YouTube. So you'll see her pop up periodically throughout. I think I did at least 2 videos on her with dragons this year, just because it's hard to find films on dragons. And yes, I covered unicorns, and I think dragons were popping in here for some reason. I know I covered a couple of things on dragons. I can't remember why. I covered LGBTQ stuff this year. I mentioned unicorns. What else did I cover? Vaccines were covered this year. I also covered a bunch of princess stuff because that was the Princess Diaries. That was directly after the horror. Last Apprentice is really, really dark. So I jumped immediately into the Princess Diaries and covered a whole bunch of other princess stuff. The other big series that went on this year were the Guardians of Ga'Hoole. So you can all check that out. And the very various different theme months. I've covered Black History Month, Caribbean American History Month, Asian American History Month. I covered Women in Flight last year. So, and this year, besides October, what is incoming for you guys this year that hasn't been already covered? And now I just exit out of it. I'm covering more Catherine Lasky, a little bit more Meg Cabot this year. I'll be covering the graphic novels of the Animorphs coming into the new year, as well as I'm redoing. I had done early on in the channel, I did a giant video on the Anne of Green Gables book series. I'm going to do them in pieces next year. So in 2024, where I'm going to cover each book, I'm also going to cover the Road to Avonlea TV series, which of their 7 seasons. I'm in the process of gathering all of those because that was a part of my childhood. Then I'm going to, after that, what am I covering? I'm going to the Boxcar Children. I'm covering the first 19 books of the Boxcar Children. And then I'm going to another mid-fantasy series that I can't remember off the top of my head that I think has to do with dragons. So that's so far what I have planned. I haven't obviously put in the themed months quite yet. It's February of 2023. We're getting there. I also covered musicals this year. So I covered musical books, and then I covered a bunch of musicals. In fact, I have Funny Girl sitting next to me that still needs to be reviewed, and I'll be covering My Fair Lady. And that is my toddler crying. So I will be going to her. Like and subscribe. Thank you.